From the campus of the University of Kentucky, you're listening to Behind the Blue. I'm Cody Kaiser with UK Strategic Communications.
Things like the Ring doorbell. And, most people have that didn't have something like that 10 years ago. So clearly, it's a very inexpensive technology that's very powerful. So people, they continue to use it. And as far as being able to see eagles and fish or sharks, Times Square, Ireland, where the Beatles crossed Abbey Road is very exciting. And a lot of people actually have used our cameras as a destination. So they've traveled to London and made sure they walked in front of, the crossing in Abbey Road and got the video clip of themselves doing it. Paul McCartney actually did it. Paul McCartney got in front of one of our cameras and waved.
That's Brian Cury, University of Kentucky alum and founder of EarthCam. When Cury placed the company's first webcam above Times Square for the 1996 New Year's Eve celebration, he thought it was a fad that would soon pass. Today, though, webcams are part of the culture. We watch eagles in their nests, bears in the wilderness, buildings under construction, and scenes from cities around the world. Cury says this type of innocent voyeurism has great appeal. Founded in 1996 and headquartered in Upper Saddle River, New Jersey, Cury's EarthCam has cameras all over the planet, including looking down from the torch of the Statue of Liberty, outside Chicago's Wrigley Field, and the crosswalk made famous by the Beatles on northwest London's Abbey Road. Cury was one of 20 UK graduates inducted into the university's Hall of Distinguished Alumni in September. On this episode of Behind the Blue, my colleague Tom Musgrave talks with Cury about EarthCam's beginnings, changes in technology that have helped and challenged the company's mission, and how EarthCam has expanded its business offerings into areas like ensuring safety on building construction sites.
We're here with Brian Cury, founder of EarthCam, and you premiered EarthCam in 1996 in Times Square for New Year's Eve. That's almost 30 years ago. Wow. Today, people are still using that technology, watching eagles in their nests and bears and watching buildings get constructed. Why do you think that this particular form of curiosity has stood the test of time?
At first I thought it might be a fad. Back then, certainly people like to see things and go places virtually using the internet and the aspect of getting a live camera to be able to travel anywhere you'd like to go and potentially places you may never get a chance to see in real life. It's got a great appeal. And, quite frankly, from a commercial standpoint, there's lots of things that people need to keep an eye on, and especially in an ever-changing world where they're geographically spread out, maybe much greater than they were in the past, to be able to see a construction site, make ssure that everyone's behaving safely and keep an eye on your projects or anything that's important to you is extremely valuable. It's like things like the Ring doorbell. And, most people have that didn't have something like that 10 years ago. So clearly, it's a very inexpensive technology that's very powerful. So people, they continue to use it. And as far as being able to see eagles and fish or sharks, Times Square, Ireland, where the Beatles crossed Abbey Road is very exciting. And a lot of people actually have used our cameras as a destination. So they've traveled to London and made sure they walked in front of, the crossing in Abbey Road and got the video clip of themselves doing it. Paul McCartney actually did it.
Wow.
Paul McCartney got in front of one of our cameras and waved. So, it really crosses so many barriers and it's a easy, fun thing to do.
It is a lot of fun. And you, with New Year's Eve, obviously you started out with a very social application of this technology. Talk to me a little bit about how EarthCam, what other applications of the technology EarthCam uses this for?
Well, it started as an entertainment vehicle. We put cameras in really unique places so other folks around the world can see societies and break down social barriers, really to create, expand your consciousness. But it's gone into so many different areas, right? So now we're doing everything around AI applications. So if you are a director of construction at a major railroad, you want to know if there's some construction happening close to the rails. That's a major safety issue. If people are walking within 25 feet of rails, we could use AI now to detect that and alert people, alert safety crews to things like that. Construction has been one of the biggest drivers. Actually, here at UK, we've got cameras on all the major construction projects to be able to document them, make a time lapse so future generations can see what took place. I mean, I walk around the campus now and it's unbelievable the amount of change that's happened. And being able to go back and watch a 1 or 2, 3 minute movie over the last 25 years is I think is compelling, and we're excited to do it.
It's very, I don't want to say it's very exciting television, but we're not talking about television. It's very visual appealing in a way that I watched some of your time lapse videos and I was surprised at how down the rabbit hole I was going. Let's watch this one next and let's watch this one next. Why do you think people are fascinated with that aspect of what you do? Watching a spot that was nothing become something.
It's very interesting because when we pivoted from EarthCam as an entertainment vehicle to doing construction, a lot of folks said, "Well, Brian, what are you going to find interesting about that? What's so artsy about watching a building going up?" And the reality is, it's extremely artistic. Architecture is good architecture is sexy. It's fun. It's exciting, and it's meant to incite that, right? So, what I think is that if you could watch something in, using time as a kind of a line that's collapsible or expandable, it's very interesting to be able to say, well, listen, I'm not going to watch the whole building for 24 months, although maybe people have experienced things like that. But, certainly, going back and then watching the movie of that happening is fun. But I think the reality is that people enjoy seeing things that they might not ever have seen before and exploring what does it really take to build a stadium? What really goes into that? And I think people are surprised. I think it really is. I think you watch one of these videos and you're like, oh my God, how did they put this steel up so fast? Layer after layer, so exact. The art that goes into construction, I think is underplayed. And I think the videos help bring that to life. And I think that's something that people find interesting.
Mm-hmm. You sort of get to see the bones of something go up and sort of working from the inside out, from groundbreaking to finished product. You mentioned AI a moment ago, and I wanted to ask because I was taking a look at some of the some screenshots of construction sites that it looked like AI had been applied to that, looking for safety concerns and other features. How much work has gone into trying to perfect that part of what you do, what you're able to deliver?
We've been on a mission. I mean, pre-COVID. Interesting story about our AI. We made all our AI ourselves, because we have billions of images of construction. We've been doing this since the 90s, and we've got lots of content. So taking that content and analyzing it and what's called creating AI models around it's not easy, but what we've done, it's funny. We had about 12 people during the pandemic, secretaries, receptionists, folks that didn't have something to do when they, went home, and we had a choice of either letting them go. And we had this opportunity. We were experimenting with AI at the time. So we sent all these folks home and we said, okay, put this box around it. This is an excavator. There's a person wearing a hard hat. There's a person without a hard hat. This is a scissor lift raised, the scissor lift lowered. And we just created these models, and they spent the last, the next 2 years during the pandemic, just identifying, everything in these photos that we had a collection of. And then, we had 1 million or so of these photos. And then we started creating this AI feedback loop, and we trained all our own AI. So now when someone like, Union Pacific would come to us, or a major construction company, or, a retailer like T-Mobile will say, hey, we want to find find this type of carton when it gets delivered. And we want to see if there's a certain type of security mesh wall put into our construction site. We can train for that pretty quickly. And then we can deliver alerts around it. And for project management, it's a fantastic deliverable. Because now you don't have to worry about, hey, did the guy put that up behind the sheetrock? Is that there? Which is a problem. And that could really slow the process down. So using AI to find certain things, last year, about 8,000 people fell off a ladder, hurt themselves. So knowing when people are doing something silly on ladders is something that we work really hard to articulate alerts around and send those notices to folks. Listen, you can't stop anybody. You can't use AI to stop someone from falling off a ladder. Right. But when we go back in and we look at these accidents, these situations, we found that these people did the same thing for weeks before, months before, and it's sad. And with the right education, you could really lower these risks for people and create a safer job site. So it's all about education. So we try to create AI that looks for things that are helping folks that are trying to make a safer, more productive job site, and then we alert them about it, and then they go to the folks and say, hey, that's not you're not supposed to use a ladder here. You should use a scissor lift. Or, you gotta, when you get on that scissor lift, make sure you strap yourself in, use your hard hat. And it's really helped. It's helped our customers. And we think, we help make a safer job site. Cause the whole idea is, make sure everybody goes home at night.
And the use of AI sort of pokes at something else I'm curious about. And we had talked a little bit off mic about this. What has changed in the technology in the past 30 years? And in what way has it helped you develop and deliver your work that wasn't available to you when you first started?
The biggest challenge we've had, which has, been amazing that all these companies have stepped up and helped, it's not just our industry, the whole industry, but, bandwidth. When I first started EarthCam, we were struggling, it was 56 K lines. We had to beg, plead, and grovel for the phone company to hook up what was called an ISDN line, which is 128 K. It's like nothing, right? We first started out maybe an image every 1 to 2 minutes. Now we're streaming, 20, 30 frames a second, analyzing everything on the job site, moving all kinds of data about other sensors and other kinds of things on the job site. And of course, the camera technology, the sensors. Our first camera that we did in Times Square was probably an eighth of a megapixel, something like that. It was insane. And now we have cameras that will do, 100 gigapixel, 10,000 megapixel, 100 billion pixels. This is the kind of technology. And we create these images by just, zooming in on things and taking thousands of photos in close up and stitching it all together in this massive image. But when you look at it, it looks like one picture, but it's all made up of close up. So you can zoom in and you can see things, extremely high resolution and all that technology. Most of it, we patented that specific process, but most of all the sensors, the camera quality, all of that has just been, a great boon to our industry.
It's wild to think about where you came from and having seen that technology myself in its early stages and wondering what's gonna come out of this.
Right.
And just the fact that the technology has ballooned in the way that it has to help you do your job better over time. I want to also ask you about something because you don't get to sit down with somebody who's actually met Andy Warhol. I read that this whole idea of putting cameras places and recording life was born out of a conversation with Andy Warhol. I'd like you to, if you could pull the curtain back on that, and because I feel like there's more than just like that one sentence.
Absolutely. So I was a giant fan of Andy. I'd seen him at the club scene in New York for a decade, and at the time I ended up getting into after I left UK, I got a job like catering on Saturday Night Live, and that led to me managing comedians, and one of the comedians was Larry Bud Melman from the David Letterman show. So, Calvert, which is his real name, Calvert DeForest, right? Yes, okay. Exactly. So he was invited to a dinner with Andy. And of course, I jumped at the opportunity to go. And, he noted it in his diary, the Andy Warhol diary. So we went to dinner. I sat across from Andy and it was very engaging. We had an amazing conversation and he kept saying, he marveled about Calvert and how, by being on the David Letterman show, it made him famous. And we talked about that. And he goes, and I'm going to do my bad impersonation of Andy here. So I was like, Brian, if you just put a camera on things, you can really make it famous. And it really stuck with me. I was like, that's amazing and true. And that led to this one invention I had that was Video Go-Go. We used to make these music videos and I invented this machine where we put a camera on you. You stand in front of a green screen and you sing a song and you get a videotape with you and your buddies. If you sang New York, New York, there'd be like a screen of New York video. And we made these folks famous, just regular college kids. And we did that in spring break. PepsiCo was one of our big sponsors. And then the next generation of that idea, was EarthCam, putting a camera on things. And, it was really that simple. And today I've got a camera on Andy Warhol's grave as a tribute to him. And I've been doing that for like 10 years now. It's a live stream 24/7. Andy lives on.
What's the most interesting or curious thing that you or that anybody who has watched that has reported to you that has happened at his gravesite?
There's a lot of wild things that happen there. A lot of people, they leave cans of soup and then we collect them and we give them to the local Pittsburgh soup kitchen, which has been pretty cool. That's been going on for a long time. But people show up at all hours of the night. There's a constant pilgrimage to Andy's grave, and then every year someone dresses up as Elvis and shows up there too on his birthday. So it's been pretty cool. The Warhol family is amazing. His nephew has become a friend, and there's a local church which has been very supportive that we have a camera in Andy's favorite church. So it's been a really wild ride.
Well, I guess it's kind of appropriate that the guy who put forth the notion that we're all famous for 15 minutes would then say that if you just stick a camera on something that makes it famous. So
yeah, famous for 15 megabytes.
15 megabytes. So you have some EarthCams here on UK campus, and can you talk a little bit about what they are recording and what you as an alum, class of 81, how you feel about being able to do that?
It was, when I got the call from UK, Ed Steverson, who ran an AV business and was tasked with trying to find cameras. I think maybe the first, probably ironically, was my freshman dorm, Hagen Hall. That might have been the first one we did together. And I got the call from him, and I'm like, stop calling anybody. Get your competitive bids, but whatever this takes, I want to do this. And if I get the job, I just I just got to get me a brick from Hagen Hall, which he did. He delivered the brick from Hagen Hall. Anyhow, it was the first project we did. We've been doing it ever since. And a lot of the companies that UK uses, specifically Turner Construction, which is the number one construction company in the United States, is one of my top clients. So, in a lot of cases, the companies that are doing the construction here use EarthCam. But we come highly recommended, from the university to them, but they can pick whoever they want. But we've been documenting them. And, the work that President, Dr. Capilouto has done has been amazing. His ability to build this campus into a next generation university is astounding. And there's so many changes here, so many amazing buildings, such great growth of the health division, the health school, the health campuses has been, staggering. And there's the College of Health and Sciences and Medicine, and the buildings that they're constructing is fantastic. There's a new ag building too, which is a cornerstone, and we've been documenting them, keeping the project safe, and keeping all the stakeholders advised of where they are. So if someone says, "Hey, we're doing this on Tuesday," hey, did everything get done on Tuesday according to plan? So construction is also very disruptive, and people want to get rid of it, get done with it as quickly as possible. So we help with that, but most importantly, creating this historic time lapse. I'm really excited about it. It's all online, so folks, the listeners here can see these cameras live and see the time lapses. And we're working on maybe a 20-year history of the construction, the recent construction in this century. So It's cool.
Yeah, very good historical perspective of development and growth on campus. In looking at EarthCam's offerings, there are very commercial applications of it, which we've talked about a little bit, like security, construction site monitoring, that kind of thing. You also, and we're recording this on September 12th, the day after the anniversary of September 11th, 2001 terror attacks in New York City and in Washington and Pennsylvania. You documented the cleanup, the recovery effort following September 11th terror attacks that destroyed the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center, as well as the new construction of One World Trade Center on that site or near that site. Do you often take on projects that have historical gravity that you were not commissioned for? And how do you make those decisions about what you're going to take on yourself to record without anybody saying, we want you to do this? How do you make those decisions?
Well, specifically the World Trade Center site, I was in New York, horrific. I wanted to share the visuals. I wanted to share what we could. We had the technology and it wasn't available. No one could see what was going on down there. It was, Armageddon. It was, like just quite a scene. I was fortunate enough to have press passes, so we were able to get past all the military barriers. We got down there. I knew a gentleman who owned a restaurant, so there was a roof that had a view, and we went down there. We put the camera up as soon as we can get some power at that location, within, less than 2 weeks from the attack. And we started broadcasting. And immediately I was receiving emails from families because, they were looking at it, at the beginning, it was a rescue effort, before it became recovery, before it became rebuilding. And, it was, we knew at the time that it was extremely important, but from an individual standpoint, it was, it was a lot more, I guess just, from a standpoint of as the CEO, it was like, wow, you're really doing something like this is important. This is what you need to be doing. And I don't want to say rewarding. It's too trivial to say that, but it felt good. And I mean, we still do that today.
Significant.
Yeah. It was, it's unbelievable. And I've kept in touch with some of these folks and I've been to the museum. I'm a donor or, a early donor to the 9/11 Memorial Museum. The architect that built the museum did our campus in New Jersey. Great group of people, and then also we donated cameras to the Flight 93 Memorial site. So we went down there, and that led to a great relationship with the families there, and how much that meant to them was staggering. I didn't see that coming. I didn't expect. I didn't do that for that. I didn't do it for. I did it for everybody to see it and to know what happened that day. And we have an amazing documentation of that. And I'm working on a 25-year movie of the rebuilding of the World Trade Center site for next year. It's all online. Everybody can see it on our YouTube channel. First and foremost, EarthCam's an artistic expression, right? So I went to film school. I studied film here, and I pick projects that I think are cool and artsy, so I got a call from the Statue of Liberty Foundation, and they wanted to know if we could put a camera, to get a shot of the Statue of Liberty. And I was like, I'll be there next week. And immediately I went and I looked at, the view of the Statue of Liberty, which is one of my favorite webcams now. And, I found a spot. It's not, you can't go there. I'm always looking to put cameras places where you can't physically go. And I put a camera in the torch of the Statue of Liberty, which has been closed to the public, since 1916. So I climbed up the arm of the Statue of Liberty and we went up on the torch, and it's like, the thing moves. It's not like you get over the top of the arm and it's just stable. It's like moving, and it's a real low rail, and it's kind of, wow, it's scary in a little bit. But we got this great shot. I call it the crown cam, or a lot of people call it the Statue of Liberty selfie, but it's an amazing live stream looking at looking down from the arm onto the Statue of Liberty, which I think is really cool. I love it. And there's been, a lot of other places like that. I mentioned Abbey Road. I went to see Springsteen in Ireland, and I found this great place to put a camera. I always travel with cameras. So I put a camera looking at this, the Temple Bar in Dublin, which is a great place if you want to celebrate, St. Patrick's Day on your big screen TV. Tap a beer, turn on the cam. But yeah, it's been, it's great. And showing the world is kind of what, the whole vibe is. And sharing that with folks. It's been great.
Well, you mentioned artistry a moment ago, so I want to ask you, what kind of artistic choices do you, because I don't want people to get I've seen the Statue of Liberty cam, and it's amazing. And now that you say that these are places that no one can go, it's like, okay, that's cool. I can see that. That's a really interesting view. I don't want people to come away from this thinking that you just go and you set up a tripod and put a camera on it and you leave and you hit record. What kind of artistic choices do you have to make and your team have to make when you're going to record something like this?
Well, it's funny. It's one of my favorite books I read here at the University of Kentucky, way back when. It's, the 5 C's of cinematography. And it's the same thing in with the webcam. Life is like a webcam, right? Everything has everyone has a different perspective. But, it's the composition of the shot is key. You want to get what's telling the message when I look at this, what's the takeaway? And then there's really basics like lighting, right? So you want to have the sun over your back. So you want to be shooting north if you can, east or west. You don't want to be shooting south because you're looking into the sun all day. So you need to tell a story and you want to use lighting as your friend, because that's what you got. And some of these cameras, it's really unique. And we're using AI now to edit the robotics of the camera. So it looks at what it should look at the best time during the day. Cause some of these cameras, really only look good for maybe 1 or 2 hours a day. They look amazing. And then the rest of it, whatever. It's a shot of a harbor. But there's some times when, the sun's rising and you want to use that key light of the sun to get that shot. So we're using AI to analyze that. And we're also using AI to look at all the cameras live that are streaming and say, this camera has got a great shot right now and feature that on our homepage. So, it's where we're heading a lot is, I guess the overlying theme here is AI is a big part of where we've headed, which is unique. It's here I am. It's like, I feel like I just started this business last week and I'm still very excited every day to come in and move forward with the next generation of what we could do.
I was going to ask if there were ever any sites or projects that didn't cooperate with you artistically. You were just talking about the position of the sun in the sky, and obviously that can be a factor, and the fact that sometimes you're only going to get a good shot for 1 or 2 hours a day. But it sounds like AI has sort of helped you mitigate that. Is that correct?
It's helped us feature the best, because you can't look at all these cameras. We have thousands and thousands of cameras now, right? So you can't look at them all like we used to. You used to be able to look at the camera and go, hey, there's a great shot. There's a thing in Times Square. We'd zoom in on it, and feature it, because there's always stuff going on all over the world on our different cameras. So it's a way to help us really, because these things need constant attention. It's not like you said, it's not like you just plug it in. They get dirty. The technology gets old. We replace some of these cameras. I think we're on our 3rd Abbey Road camera, our 4th, Crown Cam. So they're constantly being updated and upgraded to the latest tech. You start out in HD. Now we try to get all the cameras to be 4K. So yeah, it really helps. And it's the future in a lot of ways.
Well, I'm going to ask something that's a little off the wall, but since I've got an artist here, I kind of want to drill into their brain and find out, if you weren't doing this, what's a job you'd like to try?
I like painting. Listen, technology is, I feel like as an entrepreneur and as an inventor, I feel like, it'd be something with some kind of a drone. I feel like I would do a different type of technology mix. I think painting and exploring, just some time with different types of medium would probably be something else I'd enjoy.
Since you are a UK alum, again, class of 81, College of Fine Arts, I want to ask, how did the breadth of your experience here at UK help you throughout your career? How did it give you a grounding, and how has it helped you progress and see into the future?
Well, it's one of the most, it's why I'm so proud to be here. It has such a significant impact on my life, my 4 years here at UK. I started out as a computer science major, and I liked computers. My dad, was like, oh, that's what you should be doing. There's money in computers, Back then we were doing, we were programming computers using like card punch. Like it was like, these cards we fed into this machine. And I enjoyed it. To me, it was very creative. But luckily I wasn't very good in calculus. It's failed calculus. It was, I never was really great with math. And so I had a problem. And that problem was that I was failing. And I didn't want that. So I found a guidance counselor here at UK, and they just asked me a really simple question. What do you like to do? And I said, well, I like making films. It was my hobby. I like that medium. I like filming, directing, editing. And he goes, well, we can create and no one actually really asked me that, seriously. People ask you that, what do you like to do, conversationally, but, no one from academia had ever asked me that seriously and pointed me in the direction of like, in the fine arts department, you can create your own major. I'm like, well, they really don't have a film school here at UK. Because, well, we can make one for you. And they put together a program using theater. There was some filmmaking classes, art, and amazingly, they made this happen for me. And that very important fork road that fork in the road that I had, UK pushed me in the direction I needed to be in, which is amazing, right? And it's funny because a little part of that I struggled with was that I had these credits. I had all these credits in computer science, and how do I get them over to to my art? So I didn't have to spend summer or another year at school. So, at the time, I wanted to get out, right? Now, looking at it in retrospect, I would have enjoyed another year or two. Needless to say, I made up what I thought. Listen, to me, it was the future, but I thought like no one's going to believe this. And I said, listen, in the future. So I wrote this dissertation about, like in the future, cameras will be connected to computers, and computers are so important that you need to have, a background in computers because that's where cameras are going and film and blah, blah, blah.
This was your dissertation?
This
wow.
This reason why, how I articulated that we should be moving these credits over to my fine arts degree. And they took it. And I was like, oh man, that was great. I got past that. But, I thought it was a joke. And, funny story, 10 years ago when I met Dr. Capilouto, he handed me a piece of paper. He goes, I don't know, have you ever seen this? I'm like, when we met, he goes, yeah, I did some research. I researched you at the university and I found this in your files. And he pulls out this piece of paper and I'm like, oh my gosh. Immediately, I remembered writing this, which I thought was, somewhat. Listen, I thought it was potentially the future. A little bit of BSing in there, right, about what the future could be. But I'm reading this, I'm like, oh my God, this is what I'm doing today. And it was one of those moments where you're like, wow, how special was my time at UK? Yeah. And I've always felt that, but it was an amazing moment. And that's why I'm so honored that you guys would have me back, and everyone's treated me and my family so well. It's been really fantastic. It's been fantastic.
How prescient is that? Because your academic career, I guess, it started in the late 70s and graduated in 81. You were writing about how computers and cameras are going to be connected one day. That's just kind of amazing that it, and that Dr. Capilouto found the paper too. You said a moment ago you wish you might have had like 1 or 2 more years. What would you have done with that time?
Yeah, I would have continued, making films, making short films. I was making, one of my favorite memories. I mean, listen, we've gone on clearly that last one was my pivotal moment here, but one of my other favorite moments at UK was, so as a senior, I didn't have to do this. I just took it on myself. I wanted to make a feature film. So I directed a feature film using, folks from the art school. My professors, Rick Liner, who was a professor, went on to open Liner's Bar here in town, was in it. Charles Dickens, my theater teacher. So I put together and shot a feature length film on 16 millimeter. And, just the fact that I did that, I got all straight A's in all my classes. I graduated with honors, which was, quite a feat for me, because when I came from a small high school in New Jersey, I wasn't the best student. So I really excelled here, which was great. And, I ended up having to edit the film. I mean, I could have just left and done nothing with it, but I went back home to New York. I enrolled in classes at NYU and I edited the movie. And I would have done that here had I stayed. And then I came back and Fred Mills premiered at the Kentucky Theater.
Wow.
And that was like, wow. It was like, talk about this full circle moment. And I actually went down to the theater and Fred Mills is still there at the Kentucky Theater. It's mind blowing. And my son Dylan, we met him and we took pictures with him. And I was like, wow, you really, had an amazing impact in my life. Like a lot of folks here had. And, it was just great. So coming back and I probably would have edited the movie here, snuck in some time over at the KET. I used to, go over there as an intern and do some editing. I would have done whatever I could to get that film done so that everybody that put the time into it could enjoy it. And they ultimately did. It was a really fun night.
Had you been to the Kentucky to see movies during your undergraduate career here?
Absolutely.
Okay.
My favorite movie, which I saw there, was Casablanca. It's my number one movie of all time. I saw that. And, I used to go to the Rocky Horror Show, midnight showing, like a lot of folks have. And, it is a great theater. I mean, it's just classic.
So what was it like then to premiere your own finished work there?
It was a high. It was a real great moment. Real strong.
Yeah. One last question. What kind of home did you find in the College of Fine Arts when you were there?
Very welcoming and very, listen, I've got this, life, it's like a teaspoon of an idea, an ocean of execution, right? And at Kentucky, I learned that through the fine arts school is you got to finish stuff in life. Like a lot of people can shoot films. And I saw that actually later on at NYU. A lot of guys would make films and they can never, that's just the beginning. Shooting it is just the beginning. You got to edit it. You got to produce it. You got to finish it. You got to finish things in life. And I learned that at UK. I learned that in the fine arts department. And that was great. And I try to mentor, folks that work at EarthCam today. And that's one of the underlying theories of success. Listen, you got to show up. Woody Allen said, 80% of life is showing up. You got to show up. You got to innovate. You have to deliver. You got to work hard. You got to fight sometimes, but you got to get it done. And that's probably one of the great takeaways from my years at the fine arts.
Well, Brian Cury, inductee into the Hall of Distinguished Alumni, we thank you for being here on Behind the Blue.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Tom. I really appreciate this today.
You're welcome. Good having you.
It's been great. It's been fun. Thanks so much. Go Big Blue.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Blue. Behind the Blue is a joint production of the University of Kentucky and UK Healthcare. For more stories about UK and UK healthcare, visit uknow.uky.edu.